What's good, y'all? It's me, Chris. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing the Savage Fenty fashion show. But before we get into that, if you like, you can go ahead and check out my other social media platforms. Here is my Twitter, and here's my Instagram. And I'm actually going to be reworking my introduction. Last week, I got a bit of traffic to my channel, and somebody had commented on one of my videos that I was inspired by the YouTuber Amanda BB and that they really loved it. And just to be, transparent with y'all, full disclosure, my introduction is totally inspired and damn near the same as Amanda BB's. I think it's really smart to have your social media handles and your recent videos at the beginning of your video when that's going to be the most eyes that you have on your video. A lot of content creators put their social media handles at the end, and by the time your video's over, you've already lost more than half of your viewership. But I don't want anybody to think that I'm like stealing someone's content or creativity, so I'll rework it by the next video. But I just want to say that here that we'll figure out how to get a decent introduction for y'all. But today's video, I want to discuss Rihanna's Fenty Savage Fenty Fashion Show Volume 2 slash documentary. I'm not really sure. We'll get into that later, but I want to discuss Rihanna's fashion show in four parts. So the first part I want to be the performances, Rihanna as a fashion designer slash creator, the costumes, the dancers, and the choreography as one category, and then finally just finishing up with the overall set design and the song choices to go along with the fashion show. I just want to preface this by saying I am no fashion designer. I am no one's paid fashion stylist. I am just somebody with an opinion and somebody with a YouTube channel, okay? So there's no need for the aggressive keyboard typing if you listen to something that you happen to disagree with, okay? Fashion is subjective and we're just having a conversation, okay? This is just a dialogue. Now, there will be some things that are a matter of fact, okay? And some things you can just interpret it how you want. I want to suggest a video that helped me give a more well-rounded thought and opinion about Rihanna's fashion line. It is from the YouTuber Tiana, and the video is titled "Rihanna is the Crash Grab Queen in the Name of Diversity." And in this video, she just has a deep dive into Rihanna's business endeavors outside of music. She discusses Rihanna's marketing tactics, her humanitarian work, and the role that she plays in capitalism. So I definitely would suggest that y'all watch that video, maybe even before watching this, or maybe just if you are a supporter of Rihanna, just to give you a bit more information, just seeing, how authentic she actually is in wanting to pursue business outside of creating music. So we're going to be discussing the performances, but before we get into the people who actually did perform at the fashion show, I just will say that I would have performed all the people who had cameos throughout the fashion show actually performing instead of the majority of people that ended up performing for Rihanna. We had Lizzo would have been a great performer. We had Normani. There was even Chica. Like there were so many other talented artists that I think could have been pushed into the forefront, and I would have loved to have seen what they would have contributed musically and stylistically to the Savage Fenty fashion show. But we're gonna discuss what we got, and what we got starting off with was Rosalia. Now I'm not too in tune with her music. I discovered her like at the end of 2018 at the VMAs. I've only heard like singles here, but apparently she has a very popular music following. She is problematic. As far as like cultural appropriation goes, but I mean, who's not in this case? I'm not saying to absolve her, but it's like it's not a shocker. I'm not supportive of her, but every time I do see her, I'm like, damn, she served it. I think Rosalia is probably the only one who had a good performance. There was one other good performer that we'll discuss, but I think Rosalia was really good. Like she was in her mummy. She was in her mummy bag. She was in the shimmy mummy bag. I was feeling it. I thought it was really good, solid performance. They showed presence. It was dynamic. There was choreo. She's a talented vocalist. Like, I guess if she could just work on those things that people have of criticisms, I could try to dive deep into her catalog of music. She's really good. I could see why she's here. So the next performer was Ella May, and I don't think I've ever said this in video, but I don't understand the hype of this woman. I really don't. Like, she gives me regurgitation tease. Like, everything that she contributes to music has already been done before. I mean, that's literally how she got her success here in the States, was by sampling a really popular American, Black American song. I think all the things that I really liked in Ella May's performance were not of her own. Like, her outfit was amazing, did a lot of the heavy lifting, as well as the camera angle work made her look amazing, but that's pretty much it. I feel like Ella May cosplays like a 90 R&B star. Like, she stayed trying to give like Diet Aaliyah. I guess she saw that like the whole acoustic whispering throat singing that a lot of the other light skinned British girls do when they come to the States is like tired and played out. So she just decided to, slide into something that we're already familiar with. And I don't know, it's just like, next. Like, it just reeks of privilege on my screen, and I was ready for the performance to be over with. Next up, Roddy Ricch. So, where's the lingerie? Where's the lingerie? I'm going to critique more men about this. You'll see my future criticisms, but this fool came out with a whole ass jacket with a fur collar, with jeans on, with boots or tennis shoes, whatever he had. Like, there was nothing in the attire that he chose to wear that related to the fashion show. I think Roddy Ricch has great bops. The music that he's made that has been released to the radio is really good. I have not listened to his album yet. I've heard nothing but good things of it, but I'm just like, where's the performance element of this? Like, where are you trying to captivate me to get me to listen to your music? I'm not saying that you need to do choreography, but I need to have something more. I need to connect to what you're saying than you just doing the typical taking up space on the stage. That's what I feel about Roddy Ricch. If I think he does decent when he sits down and plays the piano. I don't think that's a strength that a lot of rappers don't have, and I think that that's not something that we haven't seen very often. So, I don't know, sit your ass down and play a piano. Like, become the next rap John Legend. Like, that's something that we've never seen before. Next performer, Bad Bunny. I really like this song. I love the song. I love the video when it came out last year. Child, I hate his outfit. Y'all gonna see, I pretty much hate everything that the men wore in this fashion show, but I really hated his outfit. Like, the man stayed leaning into queerness heavily. Like, where was that? Where was the gender bending, as people like to call it? Like, where was the risque? Where was the sex appeal? Like, that whole get up just felt like comedy to me. It felt like I couldn't take him serious. I snickered every single time I saw a close up of him. It was giving me very much like Latinx Ron Jeremy with the mustache. I didn't like it. Like, I've seen much more forward costumes, much more forward performances from him. Like, this to me was like rehearsal performance. I don't know. Next up, Miguel. Interesting to see Miguel. He's not necessarily like a relevant artist. He's not someone that is just into the abyss and no one talks about, but just thought it was an interesting choice. He hasn't done, the last time he released an album was 2 years ago, and I don't think he made that much noise, but he performed his best song ever, Adorn. Literally the best song Adele has ever, Adele, child. See, now I want Adele music, but that Miguel has ever performed. I saw like a few close-ups of him. He was wearing nail polish. I was like, okay, getting comfortable in his sexuality. And every time I see straight men do this, it just reminds me that queer men, and even more specifically, because there's a lot of us out here that ain't doing it, but the femme queer men, the femme queer, non-binary, AMAT people, they really like set the trends for like straight men to feel okay with their sexuality and to play outside of the traditional gender norms that they so heavily are invested into. Like, I'm sorry, I just can't congratulate Miguel that much for wearing nail polish. He did have a cute outfit. He was giving sex. I couldn't tell like what the stuff that the men had on, like aside from the dancers, I couldn't tell what the stuff that the men had on, if that was a part of her fashion line. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but He had the closest like sexiest look or lingerie s style look, and I appreciate it. He performed some other song that I forgot, but he had good energy. I appreciate Miguel. I think he's a very talented performer and singer. This last performer, y'all, Travis Scott. What did his performance have to do with the fashion show? Like, I'm really asking, what did his performance have to do with the fashion show, and why did it come on at the end after they had did the final rock walk? Like, Rihanna had came out, there was a clap, there was a pan out of the camera, there was credits. I don't know why we needed his performance. I really think Travis. I think it's hard for me to come to terms with this, but I think that Travis Scott is a bigger deal than I think of him to be. Like earlier this year, he had that McDonald's partnership. He performed at the Super Bowl last year. He did have a song shoot up to #1 this year. I think he even had a #1 last year. But honestly, most of his songs like don't resonate with me. I first discovered Travis Scott in 2017 when he was on featured on that SZA song, Love Galore. But that's pretty much the only time like anything has resonated to me. And plus, don't you have a baby with Kylie Jenner? Please, you think I'm about to be standing any niggas that associate with the Jenner Kardashian family? Like, it's just so weird. I'm not quite sure. I also think that it was very bold for him to go on after the fashion show was over, because like you make it really easy for people to turn off the television if they're not into what you're serving them. Like, at least if you go at the beginning, they have to sit with it to look forward to the rest of the show. Like, nigga, if I was not doing a YouTube video, I totally would have turned it off. I 110% would have turned it off. But I was really also watching in hopes that it would tie into the fashion show, or that something of the fashion show would make, something of his performance would make sense. But it literally didn't. It didn't connect one at all. So, Travis Scott, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, I guess he has an audience, and maybe his audience isn't just for me. Most male rappers aren't. Let's be real. One thing I just want to add on as like an honorable mention is that I found it funny that Rihanna didn't perform this year. I didn't get a chance to see the fashion show from last year, but from my research, I saw that she did perform at the show. And she's really sticking with this like shtick of like, I told you I was done with music. She is so committed to not doing music or performing into any capacity. She's like, I told y'all I was done with that. Like, you're gonna get this cute walk. Like, I'm here. I showed up. I just thought it was funny. I watched it with my friend the first time, and we just both thought it was funny. I really thought she was gonna give like a 1-2 something. I was just like, oh, she's just really making a guest appearance and then taking a photograph and dipping out. Okay. All right, sis. You got the right to do that. You have the right to do that. I just think it's funny that she's really sticking with not doing music for right now. As far as the choreography goes, I really did like it overall. I love the intricate tight moves. It very much was aligned with a lot of the music and the atmosphere. But I will say, to me, it felt a little bit too little boom cat, a little too making the band, a little too Lori vibes for me. I would have loved for it to be a bit more relaxed and really rode the beat. A good example of that is the choreography from Omarion's Touch video. I would have loved a bit more like that. But I think as the fashion show progressed, we definitely set more into the choreography, and I appreciated much what it was contributing to the fashion show. The music selection for the choreographed dance numbers and the modeling slash like voguing segments was really good. Like, such a great selection of music. It reminded me of a good Spotify playlist. I don't know about y'all, but in my experience, I feel like Spotify does a superior job of curating music that is similar to that of in your library than Apple Music does. And it was just giving me Spotify teas. One of the songs that I really love that they utilized in this fashion show really well was Pharrell's She Wants to Move. That is such a timeless song, y'all. Like, it just played so well into fashion show. Like, I was doing the research and seeing like when did the song come out. I was like probably like 2010, 2011, 12. That song came out in 2004. 2004. Like, Pharrell and Neptunes had no business making such good music back then. Like, wow. I don't know. Like, I know each generation says it. The music that they had when they were younger was prime, but I really feel like those early to like 1999, 2010 was like prime music. That's why I think like the versus battles have been hitting so well, just because that's how good that music was during that time. Stunning. They featured a bunch of like celebrity cameos. Also, this was my favorite part where they featured a bunch of celebrities. They had Indya Moore, Demi Moore, Bella Hadid, and Normani featured in the Pharrell She's Got the Move segment. Such a good job. They utilized them so well, showcased their beauty. We got to transition right into Lizzo dancing to Brown Sugar. Ugh, Lizzo, my God, for a gay man, I was turned on so much from Lizzo. Oh my God, she was just exuding so much sexuality. Also, another timeless song, Brown Sugar. Like, that song could easily play on the radio now and people wouldn't blink. People wouldn't blink. Very relative, very current. That whole segment was so good. I think that was my favorite part of the the Savage Fenty fashion show was Pharrell's transitioning into Lizzo's Brown Sugar. Ugh, chef kiss. One heavy criticism that I do have in regards to like the body diversity of this fashion show is that there's just not enough fat men. There's just not enough fat men on display in this fashion show. There is a range of fat women beautifully showcased throughout the fashion show, and we just don't get that. And the one unambiguously fat person that we do get is like fully clothed too. Like, and it may have been at his request or his personal choice, but like there's just no spectrum of desirability when it comes to the fat men that are displayed on stage. We also had a fat muscular man. We had somebody who was featured towards the end of the fashion show who was a fat man, but like I said, they're just the in comparison to the amount of fat women that were showcased, there just was not the amount of fat men that I would have liked for the fashion show. It just the fat men were not presented in the same manner of the thin muscular male counterparts that were featured in throughout this fashion show. And as far as we're going to the men's underwear do not look good, y'all. The men's underwear is horrible. It's unfitted and so unflattering. It really feels like they just cater to straightness, which is funny to me because I can guess that it's probably going to be queer men and straight women that end up buying those men's underwear. I will guarantee you that straight men are not running to Rihanna's Savage Fenty website to buy those underwear that they catered so heavily to. Like, how do you have queer people in your camp? You have queer people on your team, queer men, like people, you had people in your fashion show that was talking about gender expression, and you had nothing catering towards queerness or outside of what we value to be like traditional masculinity. And it was so boring. It was so boring. So, that's what I'll say about the men's designs. Like, and I don't want to hear we'll get y'all later. Like, you had opportunity. Like, Rihanna has always been about her whole marketing shtick is like diversity, right? Like when it comes to the makeup and all the shades that she have for dark skin, about big bodies. Like, you totally could have a vast variety of men's underwear. I think I only saw boxers. Maybe they're men boxer briefs, but there was no jog straps, no thongs, no briefs, nothing for men outside of like the traditional boxers. Like, how boring. And then y'all wonder why straight people get dragged so much, because y'all are boring. So the last part of the fashion show that I want to speak on is Rihanna as a fashion designer. There are these documentary elements that are weaved throughout the fashion show, I guess, to, legitimize Rihanna as a fashion designer. But to me, I don't feel like it landed. I don't think that it worked that well. It was just coming off as very shallow, very superficial. I personally think that Rihanna speaks in Instagram captions, at least throughout this documentary. It just feels very vapid. She breaks it in. She breaks her talking points throughout the documentary into 4 points. There is the inspiration, sexuality, mood, and community. I think the one that really only hits to me the most is the community portion. I feel like that was like her most authentic and most genuine. I do think that she was talking about heavily about like the ones that are surrounded around her and the ones who that she draws a lot of motivation and drive from. So I did believe that part. I did find that to be authentic. Um, Mood, I think that they had some really good commentary about like sexuality. Shea Coulee talked about like transformation and how it's all like an individualistic journey, and that society has really simplified such a complex part of our being, and how there's just so many binaries. So I really did like that part in regards to mood. So I did really like that part in regards to mood and sexuality. But the one part that just fell flat to me was the inspiration. Child, the inspiration. And they really try hard to send this point that Rihanna is just inspired by it all. And I was like, but what's it all? She mentioned traveling to Paris and Japan and even parts of the U.S. But like, what aspects are you picking up that you're inspired by to create this lingerie line? Like, are you picked up by people's food, by what they wear, like the language, like the practices? We didn't get to hear any of that. In fact, Rihanna's design director from the fashion show says that she could just look at something and quickly just know what it's gonna do. And I'm like, what is it gonna do? Can you tell me? Can you tell me, please? I would like to know. I just felt like the inspiration part to me felt like she was just talking to her ass and trying to pull out something. A lot of the documentary clips also felt like they was just stroking Rihanna's ego versus talking about the creative process. I would have liked to see more of that. Like, what does it entail to create this type of fashion line? What type of process is that? To me, it was just all ego stroke of Rihanna. I think a good example of this, and not to compare the two, I just like to have more context to prove my argument. But I remember in watching Beyonce's Homecoming, she did such a good job of explaining her inspiration for the Coachella performance. She mentioned in the Homecoming special on Netflix that she practiced at a university in Houston when she was in her earlier teenage days of Destiny's Child, and that she just loved that atmosphere, and that she always dreamed of going to a HBCU, but her career with Destiny's Child took off, and that was more like her college experience. And so she just wanted to have a performance in which she could showcase what she admired so much from a young age, and also just to put a spotlight on people who didn't feel seen in the performance industry. And that to me was a more clear, and that was 2 sentences, but she expanded on that point much more in the documentary. And I just feel like we never got there with Rihanna in regards to like, where's her inspiration drawing from. I think we got there a little bit through mood, but otherwise that, I don't know where this woman is creating this fashion line from. Overall, I definitely enjoyed this fashion show. I found the entertainment value to be worth my time. It's an easy watch. It's only 55 minutes, and shit, if you don't watch Travis Scott's performance, it's like 50 minutes. So there you go. It's not too much time out of your day. I found it to be enjoyable. Some criticisms there, but as I do, always got something to say. I would love to hear what y'all think about the fashion show if you watch. Let me know if you've watched Tiana's video. Also leave that your thoughts and opinions on Rihanna as a business entity outside of her music industry. I would love to know your thoughts and comments. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to Crispy Noah family, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.